This is my presentation for Interlocking Parts, one of the extra credit assignments for Form in Atlas. So my thought process when tackling this kind of project was I was really worried about the actual 3D printing, more so than modeling out in Fusion 360. So I really wanted to focus on creating a simple design for this. The first thing that came to mind was a simple chain, and I wanted to make sure that the design was sturdy enough to print, so not just making it look interlocking in Fusion 360, but choose measurements and dimensions that would allow it to print and stay sturdy, as I thought that was the trickiest part of this particular project. Approaching this way proved to be the right method, as I think my piece came out really well. I'm super happy with the final product, so I think I attacked it from the right angle. So for my preliminary sketch, to keep things simple, I just wanted to use one sketch, and then I would create an assembly later by rotating and replicating the parts a couple times over to make the full piece. This has helped not only simplify things for me, but keep everything perfectly symmetrical and functioning properly. That way, no one piece would be like the weakest link in the chain. For the body, I know for this style of object, I could have created an additional face and swept it around the path, which might have been the better option, but instead I chose to just extrude everything out and use the fillet feature to make the edges round. That gave me a final product like this, which I think accomplishes the same exact goal that sweeping it around would. And for me, this was the perfect sort of size and dimensions that would allow other chain pieces to fit inside it. To make sure everything looked good before I took it over to the printer, I then created the final assembly. So I just did 4 links in the chain, as I thought that was the perfect amount to show off the sort of piece in the process without going too overboard. And so the assembly in Fusion 360 looked a little something like this. The pieces are perfectly aligned down the center and with as much space as I saw fit to make sure that Ultimate Gear Kira would be able to fit the supports I needed around each individual hole, which was really the tricky part. And yeah, I think it came out really good. The final piece looks like this. As you can see, all of them are still intact and printed perfectly. I think it really did come out well. Well, it is just like a simple chain, and removing the supports was a very large project. It was not an easy thing. I had to get in there with needle nose pliers and pull them out. But because I chose to make each individual link relatively thick for what they needed to be, I was able to get them all out without breaking anything, which was really good. And yeah. This project I thought went really well, and I was really happy with the final product. I think it was a great way to test some of my like CAD knowledge and skills while keeping things kind of simplistic in nature. And just for like to show off what everything looked like in Ultimate Akira, this is the STL file sliced out Took about 3.5 hours, and I did, obviously, I went with the full 20% infill because I did want them to be really sturdy, as I knew I would be pulling against them to get the supports out. Most of my other prints for the final were more around the 12 to 15 area. I even thought about going more. I was going to if this first one didn't work out, but it worked perfectly. And then obviously supports. And for these printers, I use adhesion, which is, the border around the bottom. And essentially had this large stack of supports on each of these horizontal pieces that pulled off very easily. These internal sections were really what proved to be a little bit more difficult. But that is interlocking parts. And yeah.